The sparrow died in my 7-year-old hands before I learned to bring it back to life. Blood, warm and sticky, seeped between my fingers as the tiny creature's chest stilled. I had found it beneath the old oak, its wing twisted at an angle that made my stomach clench. Death smelled like copper pennies and crushed violets, a scent that would haunt me for the rest of my mortal days. Then the fire ignited in my chest. Heat poured through my veins like molten gold, racing down my arms until my palms burned against the bird's cooling feathers. Light blazed from my fingertips, and the sparrow's wing snapped back into perfect alignment with a sound like breaking twigs. Its eyes fluttered open, black as winter nights, and it launched itself skyward with a cry that pierced my soul. I collapsed into the rose bushes, thorns shredding my dress as exhaustion crashed over me like a tidal wave. Around me, winter roses bloomed out of season, their crimson petals unfurling in the March frost. The sweet fragrance made my head spin. Mother found me there hours later, unconscious among flowers that shouldn't exist. When I woke in her arms, her face was white as bone. "Never again," she whispered, her fingers trembling against my fevered cheek. "Promise me, Charity. The world would burn you alive if they knew. But how do you hide the sun beneath your skin?" 15 years later, the bell above Hartwell apothecary's door chimed like a death knell as I measured dried chamomile into brown paper parcels. Each flower crumbled to dust between my fingers, releasing its apple-sweet scent into air already thick with lavender and rosemary. My hands moved with practiced precision, but my mind wandered to darker places, to the fever dreams that had plagued me for weeks. Visions of stars calling my name in voices like breaking glass. Mrs. Aldrich's rheumatism flared purple-black in my peripheral vision, a bruising pain that made my own joints ache in sympathy. Beside her, young Tommy Marsh radiated the sickly yellow-green of infected lungs, each breath a struggle that echoed in my chest. Their suffering painted the air in colors only I could see, a symphony of agony that clawed at my resolve. "The usual willow bark tea, Mrs. Aldrich?" I asked, my voice steady despite the shaking in my hands. She nodded, pressing coins into my palm with fingers gnarled like old roots. "Bless you, child. Don't know what this village would do without your family's remedies." If only she knew. The real healing happened after midnight, when I slipped through shadows to lay burning hands on fevered brows, drawing sickness into myself until it dissolved in the crucible of my gift. Each secret healing left me weaker, more translucent, as if I were slowly becoming a ghost of myself. The angel of mercy, they called me in hushed whispers. Never suspecting their savior served them chamomile tea by day and stole their pain by moonlight. Thunder cracked overhead like the world splitting open. Through rain-lashed windows, I watched the storm tear autumn leaves from their branches, sending them spiraling into the growing darkness. The air tasted of electricity and impending change, metallic, sharp, alive with possibility. That's when he appeared. The door burst open on a gust of wind that sent my carefully organized herbs flying. Lightning illuminated the stranger's silhouette, tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair plastered to his skull by the rain. He stumbled forward, and I caught my first clear look at his face. My world tilted sideways. Sharp cheekbones carved shadows beneath eyes the color of storm-tossed seas. His skin held the pallor of fresh snow, but beneath the surface, something else entirely blazed. Where other people radiated the familiar spectrum of human ailments, he burned with colors I had never seen. Silver shot through with veins of deep violet, aurora bright and utterly alien. The scent of ozone and night-blooming jasmine flooded the shop, so intense it made my knees weak. Power recognized power, calling to something buried deep in my bones. "Please," he said, and his voice carried undertones of distant thunder. Then his eyes rolled back, showing only white, and he collapsed. I should have called for Father, should have sent for the village doctor. Instead, I barred the door and dragged him to the narrow cot we kept for emergencies, my hands already burning with the need to heal. His fever raged like wildfire beneath my palms as I pressed them to his chest. The moment our energies connected, I gasped. This wasn't sickness. It was something far more dangerous. Cosmic fire consumed him from within, star-bright and merciless, as if he had swallowed pieces of the sun. My healing power poured into him, not the gentle stream I had learned to control, but a torrent that left me gasping. Hours blurred together in a haze of silver light and burning hands. Dawn painted the windows rose gold by the time his fingers closed around my wrists. Enough. His grip was iron strong despite his illness, his skin now cool against mine. You've given enough, Star-Blessed. That name, ancient, forbidden, made my blood freeze. Only the oldest texts mention the Star-Blessed, healers chosen by cosmic forces and marked for extraordinary destinies. I had memorized every crumbling page in grandmother's hidden library, but I had never expected to hear those words spoken aloud. His eyes opened, revealing irises that shifted like oil on water, green melting into gold, melting into midnight blue. They held the depth of centuries, the weight of secrets that could crush mountains. Who are you? I whispered, though part of me already knew the answer would change everything. He sat up with fluid grace, power radiating from him like heat from forged steel. My name is Greg Stellaris, and I've been searching for you across half the known world. The surname hit me like a physical blow. Stellaris, of the stars. The old texts spoke of watchers who served as guardians and guides to the star-blessed. But they were myth, legend, stories told to explain the unexplainable. You're not human, I said, and it wasn't a question. His smile was sharp when he said, Neither are you, Charity Hartwell. Not entirely. Over the following days, Greg wove himself into the fabric of our lives with disturbing ease. Father welcomed him as an apprentice, impressed by his uncanny knowledge of herbs and healing arts. Mother treated him with cautious warmth, though I caught her watching him with troubled eyes when she thought no one was looking. But it was during our private moments that he revealed the truth of what I was, and what I was destined to become. Your bloodline traces back to the first Star-Blessed. He explained one evening as we walked through the orchard behind our cottage. Fallen apples carpeted the ground, their sweet decay perfuming the air with memories of summer. Every few generations, the cosmic forces choose a new guardian, someone capable of channeling pure starlight to heal what cannot otherwise be healed. Overhead, the stars seemed brighter than usual, pulsing in time with my heartbeat. And you? I'm your watcher, your guide. He stopped beneath an ancient apple tree, turning to face me with an intensity that made my breath catch. But I'm also something the texts don't mention, which is a man who has fallen in love with the woman he was sent to protect. The words hung between us like a challenge, electric with possibility. In the moonlight, his eyes blazed with something more dangerous than cosmic fire. Desire, raw and barely leashed. I should have stepped away, should have remembered the warnings about mortals and immortals, the inevitable tragedy of loving someone bound to a higher purpose. Instead, I moved closer, drawn by forces older than wisdom. Greg. He silenced me with a kiss that tasted of starlight and sin. The moment our lips met, the world exploded into brilliant clarity. Every blade of grass glowed with life force, every star sang in harmonious chorus, and the very air shimmered with golden threads connecting all living things. I could see the cosmic web that bound the universe together, felt the pulse of creation itself flowing through my veins. When we finally broke apart, I was trembling, not from cold, but from the knowledge that I had found the other half of my soul, and that our love might be the very thing that destroyed us both. This is why the texts don't mention watchers falling in love, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Because when we do, we stop being guardians and become something far more dangerous. What's that? We become willing to watch the world burn if it means keeping you safe. Winter arrived with the fury of a scorned god, burying Millbrook beneath drifts of snow that reached the cottage eaves. But inside our sanctuary, passion bloomed like hothouse flowers. Greg taught me to channel my power more efficiently, showing me how to draw energy from the earth and stars rather than my own life force. His hands guided mine as we practiced, sending electric shocks through my body that had nothing to do with healing magic. The air between us crackled with tension, heavy with unspoken desires that grew stronger with each passing day. "You're pulling too hard from your core," he murmured during one late-night session, his breath warm against my neck as he adjusted my stance. His fingers burned against my wrists, leaving trails of fire in their wake. "Feel how the starlight wants to flow through you, not from you." I closed my eyes, trying to concentrate on the cosmic currents he described. But his proximity made thought impossible. The scent of his skin, ozone and winter nights, and something uniquely him filled my senses until I could barely breathe. "Like this?" I asked, attempting to channel energy from the constellation visible through the window. "Perfect." His voice had dropped to a growl that made my toes curl. "You're magnificent when you let the stars claim you." I opened my eyes to find him watching me with a naked hunger, his carefully maintained control finally cracking. The space between us pulsed with electricity, drawing us together like magnets seeking their opposite poles. This time, when our mouths met, there was nothing gentle about it. He kissed me with the desperation of a drowning man, his hands tangling in my hair as he pressed me against the work table. Dried herbs scattered around us, filling the air with the scent of crushed rosemary and desire. "Charity," he whispered against my lips, and my name sounded like a prayer. "We shouldn't. Don't." I silenced him with fierce kisses, pouring all my longing into the connection between us. "Don't think. Don't question. Not tonight." He surrendered with a groan that vibrated through my chest, lifting me onto the table with ease. His mouth traced fire down my throat, while his hands mapped territories no man had ever explored. I arched beneath his touch, starlight crackling beneath my skin as passion and power merged into something transcendent. We made love among scattered herbs and ancient texts, our bodies moving together with the rhythm of celestial bodies in their eternal dance. Each touch sent shockwaves through the cosmic web. Each kiss deepened our bond until I couldn't tell where I ended, and he began. Afterward, as we lay tangled together beneath my grandmother's quilt, Greg traced lazy patterns on my skin with fingertips that still glowed with residual magic. "The stars sing differently now," he said, wonder coloring his voice. "They know you're no longer alone in your power." I pressed closer to his warmth, trying to memorize the feel of his heartbeat against my cheek. Something cold and knowing whispered at the edges of my consciousness, a warning that this happiness was temporary, borrowed against a future I couldn't yet see. "What happens when my time comes?" I asked, the question I had been avoiding finally forcing its way past my lips. "When I have to choose between ascension and losing my gift." His arms tightened around me, protective and desperate. "I don't know. The texts speak of choice. but they never mention what happens to those left behind. I won't leave you. The words came from my heart, fierce in their certainty. Whatever the cost, I won't abandon what we have. He was quiet for so long, I thought he had fallen asleep. When he finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of prophecy. The stars don't care about mortal love, Charity. When they call you home, you may not have a choice. Spring's return brought with it a plague that swept through Millbrook like wildfire. Children fell sick by the dozens, their small bodies burning with a fever that no earthly remedy could touch. I watched helplessly as the village I loved died, the colors of suffering painting the air in shades too dark to bear. On the third night, when little Sarah Fletcher's life flickered like a candle in the wind, I made my decision. I have to try, I told Greg as we stood over the child's bed, her parents weeping in the corner. I can't watch them die when I have the power to save them. You'll burn yourself out, he said, catching my wrists as I reached for her. The fever is unnatural. It will take everything you have and more. Then that's what I'll give. For 3 days and nights, I poured my life force into the dying children of Millbrook. Greg stayed beside me, feeding me his own strength when mine faltered, holding me upright when exhaustion threatened to claim me. But with each healing, I felt myself becoming less substantial, more light than flesh. On the final night, as I healed the last fevered child, the change began in earnest. Light blazed from my hands, brighter than the sun, and I felt the stars calling with voices like crystal bells. The choice Greg had warned me about crashed over me like an avalanche. Ascend and become eternal, or remain mortal and lose everything that made me special. Everything except him. It's time, Greg whispered as I stumbled away from the child's bedside, his strong arms the only thing keeping me from dissolving into pure energy. Tears carved silver tracks down his face, catching starlight like fallen diamonds. We climbed the hill where we had shared our first kiss, the same place where I had learned that love could be more powerful than duty. The night sky blazed overhead, constellations pulsing in welcome as cosmic forces gathered around us. I can't leave you, I said, touching his face with hands that flickered between flesh and light. I won't. My beautiful star. He kissed my fingertips, his lips warm against an energy that barely remembered being human. You were never meant to stay earthbound. You belong to something greater than one man's love. But I love you. The words tore from my throat, desperate and raw. Doesn't that matter? It matters more than you know. He pulled me close, and for a moment, I felt solid again in his arms. It matters so much that I'm going to let you go. The star's song grew louder, irresistible now. My physical form dissolved, my skin becoming luminous mist that rose toward the waiting constellations. But even as my body abandoned me, my heart remained achingly, impossibly mortal. Look for me, I whispered as consciousness expanded beyond the boundaries of flesh. In starlight, in healing, in every act of love, I'll be there. Always, he promised. And the word followed me into infinity. Now I burn among the eternal fires, a guardian star watching over the world I left behind. I feel every prayer for healing, every moment of compassion, every heart that opens to love despite the certainty of loss. And on clear nights, when Greg stands on our hill and gazes upward, I blaze brighter than all the rest. My light carries everything I couldn't say in those final moments. That love transcends form. That sacrifice becomes beauty when freely given. That some bonds are too strong for even cosmic forces to break. He has aged in the years since my ascension, silver threading through his dark hair like captured starlight. But his eyes still hold the depth of storm-tossed seas, And when he speaks my name to the darkness, the sound reaches me across impossible distances. He teaches others now, sharing the knowledge we discovered together. Under his guidance, a new generation of healers learns to balance power with love, duty with desire. They don't know their teacher once loved a star, but they carry pieces of our story forward in every life they save. And sometimes, on nights when the veil between worlds grows thin, I manage to whisper across the void 3 words that echo in his dreams, carried on cosmic winds that smell of roses and starlight. I love you. He hears me. I know because his answering smile lights up the darkness below, bright enough to rival the stars themselves. In that moment, the distance between earth and heaven becomes nothing more than another word for longing. And longing, I have learned, is love's most faithful companion. Some stories end with death, others with separation. But ours continues in the space between heartbeats, in the pause between lightning and thunder, in the eternal dance of starlight falling to earth like tears of joy, forever and always, burning bright.